Larry.
Hi, Fallon. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing
Happy Friday.
yes. Got a little rain here in New Jersey, but that's good. A little cleansing, I guess.
Yeah, it's raining here in Atlanta too.
Mm, yeah.
I don't know if you watched last week with Andy Kerr.
I did not.
He was also wearing red and black plaid.
It's blue, believe it or not.
Oh, is
So,
it?
so
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
a little different,
We
a
had
little
this whole
different.
conversation about plaid and how awesome it is.
Uh,
It's a modern thing.
yeah. Well, it was nice actually to just be able to put like a button-down shirt on because I haven't had a reason to get dressed other than maybe a couple of ventures to dinner. So it was good. Felt good.
That is awesome. So I'm excited to hear about your journey just because you're kind of from the business IT consulting world and then how you found the clinic and then what made you decide to become a brain health coach and then kind of where you're at because you have a podcast and you're doing all these cool things. So I want to hear
Yeah.
about it.
Awesome. You want me to just dive in?
Yeah.
All right. So for me, I actually take a little step back prior to my journey of holistic life sciences, which I put, Dr. Amon's amazing work and services included in that. I had a very interesting moment in my life, probably around the age of 21, 22, where I had a bit of a nervous breakdown. And
Were you in college at that time?
no, I was actually out of college. It was my first year of working.
Okay.
And I just had this breakdown. And that led to me going to some therapy. And at the time, it made sense for me to be prescribed an anti-anxiety medicine. I was very, very OCD. Really wasn't doing much other than working. And that was where I felt safe in some ways. So to make a long story short, I had this like a bit of a fix mentally, I guess you can say, that allowed me to kind of, I guess, put a mask on what was really going on underneath. And it allowed me to live.
Like with the meds, you mean?
Yeah. I mean, I think that what might have been transpiring at the time definitely wasn't a healthy, nutritious lifestyle. I was an athlete all the way into college, and that stopped because of injury. So I think I hit a point where physically, mentally, I wasn't nourishing my body in any way, shape, or form. That probably contributed to what we came to find out not that long ago when I became a patient of the Amen Clinic. So the Paxil that I was taking definitely allowed me the freedom to live a much better life. And that led me to, advancing in my career, found my wife and got married, and all this, wonderful stuff started happening. And then fast forward to about, I'd say maybe like 13 years ago or so, I had another moment. And that moment was I'm living what they said is the American dream. And I was unhappy. I was happy with my wife and my kids, but I wasn't like feeling fulfilled outside of that. I had a house, I had a car, I had a great job. My wife was an attorney. Like everything just seemed like I should just be jumping up and down every day, all day. Right. And it wasn't how I was feeling. And so that led me to a moment of awareness that I felt I needed to turn internal. So I did. And that led to introductions to a personal trainer and someone who now is a really close friend of mine. And then also it led me to creating a business where I connected with my two business partners as of now and created a company named Arcus. Where when I was at Smith Barney in the financial world, I got introduced to Salesforce.com, which is a cloud platform that's very well known today. They were implementing that. And it just seemed, as I was starting to get a little healthier and starting to internally solve the issues I had going on, I felt this entrepreneurial spirit. And the next thing you know, I was thrown into the wolves of sales, I guess you could say. Never did sales a day in my life. And so what I did was I went searching for who were the best salespeople and got their coaching. And they kept saying to me, you got to stay motivated. You got to stay motivated. So that led me to like Tony Robbins and other great, Wayne Dyers of the world and whatnot, starting to have these like motivational ideas. And that was like a drug to me. And I just got addicted to it. And that led me down a path of at least 10 plus years of just studying holistic life sciences. Part of that journey was reading Dr. Amen's book early on in that time, right? Change Your Brain, Change Your Life. And then I also had this inkling I needed to come off the medicine. And so, fast forward 10 years, I've been off that medicine. I continue to evolve. The company, we just celebrated a 10-year anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So it was just this just an amazing journey internally and externally that then led us into year 2020. And as I was kind of going through a little bit of self-awareness and seeing about where I saw myself going, I've always had visions of getting involved with holistic life sciences. But I never like took the plunge. I've always had this like little world of Evernote that was like where I was writing all this stuff and reading and just taking all my thoughts and just collaborating in one place. COVID hit. And in the midst of COVID, I also happened to catch Dr. Amen on with Dave Asprey on the podcast. And I heard him go through the Dave Asprey story. And I had this like moment. I'm like, oh my God, Dave is just like me. I'm like, I've been, I'm off the packs and all that stuff. I've been meditating. I do Wim Hof breathing. I'm exercising, holistics. I'm doing all these things. I should be levitating when I wake up in the morning, like, what is going on? And I hear Dave talk about how he was not feeling energized and feeling good and just all this stuff. And, Dr. Amen said he couldn't believe what he saw on the SPECT scans.
Yeah, his is really bad.
Yeah. And came to find out that, he had mold exposure and all these other things. It's a great interview for anyone who.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Did more, I highly suggest it. And then I thought about it too, because my wife got diagnosed with lupus set years ago from our previous home, which I believe mold. And so I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, man, I always wanted to go and have, the SPECT scan done and investigate the Amen Clinic. And as like COVID thing was going on, I'm like, now's the time. Why do I not let's do it. And interestingly enough, I had decided I was going to take my holistic stuff the next level. So I was in the process of getting a meditation certification. I'd been practicing meditation for over 10 years, now. And so I was like, let me get some formal education around it. And so then I go to the Amen Clinic. I get introduced to Dr. Lowe, who is my doctor. And, the process was amazing and he was amazing. And it uncovered that, I'm ADHD. And I kind of had an inkling that there might've been something going on. But it was unbelievable what he was able to bring to my new level of awareness and then help me go forward. And in the process, I was introduced to potentially being a brain health coach. I was like, oh my God, like I'm helping myself. I'm like, so I'm living what it is, but I'm like, I had this opportunity that I could be a part of this community and gain knowledge and be part of my give back. And during this whole COVID thing, I just felt like it was a message, I guess you could say, to get out of my comfort zone and start to share what I have learned. And part of the process, just keep the education going and start connecting with different people. And that led me to where I am today. So, and getting the certification and I'm actually on to other stuff as well too, to bring a whole holistic education platform to me, and then hopefully to others across the board. So I'm going to stop there. I know I just said a lot. So
no, I love your story. And I think just kind of leading up to, finding out that you had ADD, a lot of people in the business world don't know until they get a scan or they start having some type of like crisis in their personal relationships, that we can use that to our advantage. I mean, it can help you focus like on your business, laser focus, put all of your drive, energy, motivation, passion into that thing and do it really well, while still making sure that all the other aspects of your life are looking good. I mean, there's definitely an overlap between CEO sales type brains and ADD, and Dave Asprey is actually like one of the classic examples that Dr. had been talking about in some of his like videos and PBS specials and things like that. If anyone hasn't seen it, the Healing ADD PBS special that Dr. Amen did is one of my favorite things. And him and Tana and like their interactions together just are so like awesome. I love watching them together, but just the stories that they're telling and kind of educating people about what ADD really is, and figuring out through the spec scans what types you have, being able to channel that into a real way.
Yeah.
In that too. I mean, Dr. Amen and I talked about my ADD on some of the channels. So
yeah, no. And what I realized for me was, this goes back from the time I was probably, 7, 8 years old. And part of my diagnosis was the fact that I had traumatic brain injury twice at an early age, which, who knows to the level of effects of it. But I always, as a child, wanted to be a doctor. Like I always just had this, I don't know, like just, there was just something, this inkling to me. And then when I was in school, I was always in reading, like extra help reading and lower levels of reading. And I didn't understand why, because I was able to, relatively do good grades wise. But I just always felt that I had to put in all this extra effort. Like I just couldn't, I had to, like things were not simple to me. What would be considered common sense was not common sense. And depending on my emotional state, my ability to even have any kind of memory or understanding of what to say or what something is varied based on that. And so I just gave up on it. I just thought I was stupid, actually. I ended up, doing well and had certain honors courses, other stuff and whatnot. But what I realized when I went through the protocol with Dr. Lowe was when we had that moment, I almost cried, because all of a sudden now I was able to focus and I was able to comprehend. And the best way I could describe it, like I never read. I never would read books for leisure. Education, reading also was a challenge. And when I started the company, one of the main things was like, you got to read. Like, what do CEOs do? They are constantly educating themselves. They're reading. They're all these things. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like I can't stand reading. What am I going to do? So I implemented something over 10 plus years ago, was a 5-page a day rule. I said, and because the thing that I was able to master to compensate for my ADHD was discipline. I was very disciplined. Absolutely. And I was going to do things out of spite. So I was going to show everyone that I could do. And so that motivated, the willpower just kept me going, right? So I did this 5-page a day rule, and I had not missed a day. And, to this day, I still haven't missed a day. But something happened when I got treated. I'm reading 30, 40 pages a day now. Oh. I mean, and I can read a page in a book and not have to read it a second time. Like,
that's huge. That was my problem too.
It was like, oh my God. And then I started sharing this out when this happened. And I had a friend of mine who, another executive, said to me, he goes, he's read one book in his life. Because
it's really common with those brain types. So.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it almost felt like now I had a superpower, because you have these, I feel we all are presented with these impossibility walls. in our lives, right? Whether it just be on
Absolutely.
simple
Yeah.
things that someone says you can't do something or not or whatever. And some impossibility walls are what has made the greatest inventions and progress in the world, right? It's like you can't do something because this is just factual, but someone says no, they're going to move forward. So the question becomes, what do? Do you either turn that can't into a won't, which is nope, don't touch it, or you turn it into will, right? And that will turns into willpower, right? And your willpower pushes you through that discipline. You're finding faith in something outside of yourself. And for me, thank God I made those decisions. I'm just so happy that I was able to say, you know what, I am motivated because I want to prove something. And that led me to here. And I don't regret my journey by any stretch of the imagination. But I think the message is you got to have levels of awareness for yourself. And if you're seeing something that just doesn't seem right, it's worth the time to get investigated, right? Whether it be, mentally, physically, emotionally or spiritually. And the more that you investigate, the more you start to learn more about yourself and how you interact with your environment. And that to me is, the path of healing and wellness.
That's so beautiful. I love your story.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And so on top of that, the fast forward turned into not only going down the path of becoming a brain health coach, but I also got my son to the Amen Clinic, and he is a patient and seeing tremendous results there. I mean, he was and he has a more complex type. As I was doing the brain health coach and I was listening to Dr. Amen talk about his daughter, I was like, that's my son, Ryan. Oh my God. Like he is that. And I have seen such a tremendous change in him. He'd get some A's, maybe, and some B's. He wasn't necessarily a C student, but we had to stay on him and go. Mm-hmm. I don't think he had a grade in the first semester lower than like 95. Like,
that's incredible.
Yes. And he is like going after it. Like he can't wait to go check his grades to see how he's doing.
And how old is he?
He's in 6th grade. So,
so
yeah,
cute.
so it's a huge thing. What I will say, and this is a key thing for anyone out there, is that there is no magic solution, right? And so with Ryan in particular, diet is huge, right? It's not just about being on a supplement or something like that. It's about the full body, and that's what I love about Dr. Amen and the methodology is that it's holistic in nature. It's not a quick fix. It's not go to the doctors for 5 minutes and then they give you the answer and you walk away and you're a changed person. That doesn't exist. You can mask things, but you're not actually solving and fixing the underlying stuff. And so watching Ryan evolve and when he's had some, amazing progress and then there's some, what happened there, you start to realize, oh, wow, diet really matters, right? Certain intolerances to foods and chemicals and things really can have a bad impact on you. And that was a big lesson for me too, because I know that as I've changed my nutrition and my movement and all that stuff, that just lowers any kind of levels of emotional trauma stuff that I've dealt with in the past. And anxiety levels are at an all-time low as a result of having a holistic approach to it all.
That's awesome. Yeah. And it's so different from person to person, where when you are becoming more self-aware and you are doing all the right things, and then maybe you do, slip and eat something you're not supposed to, or you don't even realize that something had sugar in it or gluten that you normally don't have. And you can feel it in your brain. It's like, for me, it's just kind of this like, just like this heaviness of like tiredness and like brain fog. And yeah, when you're used to finally performing at the level that you feel like you always could, and you are, it's just, you want to celebrate it by continuing to do the right things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And my last piece was nutrition. I think nutrition is the toughest for really for anybody at the end of the day. It's just because there's so much out there that's can play tricks on you, I guess you can say,
Yeah, sugar is definitely tricky.
Yeah, well, your body tells you. I mean, that's the thing. Like one of my big messages to everyone is that, the answers are all inside you. And it's not just the mental answers, right? It's the physical answers. If you listen to your body, it will tell you everything you need to know. I mean, I recently put a post up around a half hour after you eat, like, see what's going on. If you have a slight headache or you're feeling full but hungry, like, there's indications of whether you had too many carbohydrates or too many proteins, and you can offset it by just taking some of that, right? If you're lacking carbohydrates, you can eat an apple and then your headache will go away. Like, your body is giving you everything you need. It's just getting more in tune to it. And I think we've always looked to others to tell us about our health, that it turns inward. And I think that's a model with the, brain health, is that, we're not given the manual on how our brain works, right? We're not educated on how to handle our bodies really to the degree that we need to. And, I kind of started with the mental, because of interest, but also too, that's you either respond or you react. And if you don't have control of your mind, a lot of things are just going to get out of whack. So understanding how the brain is working, understanding that everybody's situation is bespoke to them, right, and needs a bespoke plan and treatment, I think is where you got to start, especially if the natural stuff that you might be doing, whether it just be exercise or just living every day, is not cutting it for you.
Absolutely. So is this the kind of cool stuff that you talk about on your podcast? I wanted to hear more about that.
Yeah, so the podcast is a little of an experiment, I guess you can say. This year, my big theme is living into your answers. I had a friend of mine kind of taught me that lesson. It was pretty profound, of not trying to put anything specific in the future as what I'm going to do. And that's what I've really done with all of this, from evolving into the meditation cert to the brain health coach. The podcast kind of came out of that, where as I've been sharing more out there, I had a friend of mine reach out and said, "Do you know Cheryl?" And I was like, "No, you two should meet." And so we got on the phone, we started talking, and we talked for like an hour plus, when it was supposed to be like a 15-minute like intro. And I just said, "Hey, what if we just did this and like gave it out?" I mean, we have an interesting story. We come from the Salesforce world.
Yeah.
Maybe, just she's on the West Coast, I'm on the East Coast. Woman, like, I was like, let's just put something together. If we can get it, the technology to be simple, let's just do it. And so we tried it, right? So we did the first one, we got it out there. We've now done 4. And we just love the conversations, and we're not setting expectations around what we're trying to do with it. We're not trying to become professional podcasters in any way.
Though, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
But we're having fun doing it. And when my mother sent me a text yesterday that she listened to episode 4. She's like, "Oh, it related so much to blah, blah," and that just in itself, just that, one person, or just the fact that you do it, just gives me everything that I need at this stage. And we're gonna let it see where it goes. It's kind of fun, and it's not causing too much time as far as the technical stuff, which is the beauty of technology these days.
I love it. So what is it called, and where can people listen?
So right now there is a name, but it's kind of like an unofficial conversations with Cheryl and Larry. We have it up on YouTube. Cheryl has her own page. I have my own page. We post it in through LinkedIn and the other social media channels, Facebook and YouTube. And it's also on SoundCloud. So if you just search YouTube for my name and the same thing on SoundCloud, you can get both the video as well as the sound only versions of it at this stage.
Very cool.
So yeah, it's good stuff.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing more. And I think just from a business perspective, because that's always been something that I struggle with, like sales and business, and like understanding that world's always been kind of a struggle, just because I didn't grow up in it. And so many of the people that I'm meeting through our brain health coaching community do. And it's so cool, because I feel like I'm learning so much, and it comes back to the same principles that, we're learning through, like Tony Robbins and Daniel Amen and some of these other motivational speakers. And it's just about, being yourself, being authentic and living your truth and always wanting to learn more and all that good stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I look at the executive athlete, like people who associate health and wellness, and you see out there these trainers and even the biohackers and stuff like, Dave Asprey and whatnot, there's a unique, it seems like a certain to go there. Right. And the way I look at it is people who I connect with, and, I'm 43. I associated with being an athlete, but we're all athletes. Like I played a sport, but like you are an athlete. You have a body, you have a mind. You need to learn about it. You need to exercise it. Is that people relate to it, but they've kind of kept it to themselves. They're not willing to talk about it. And I like to bring that out in conversation, whether I'm out with friends or whatnot. And I like to dive into it, say, hey, yeah, like it can be better for you. You can look at it. It's just a question of where there's, pain or inflammation or just a need for understanding. And I had my atlas adjusted as a result of part of this whole thing. And I can't tell you what a game changer that is for me. Like, and that's a neck issue, right? Like I got my brain scanned and I realized I have a spine issue. And that was like, and in that, Dr. Colavita in New Jersey, who I love, I've become tighter with him and collaborating with him and learning more about Atlas. And now I share that out with others. And I'm like, oh my God, like, it's all amazing how it's all connected, but people aren't going to have awareness of something if you don't share it. So
right.
I think just continuing to share out that there is a better way. You can find healing. You can find vibrancy and enthusiasm. You just gotta raise your hand and take that one step in the direction of doing it. And that's what I'm hoping to do, is just share that message more and collaborate with folks like yourself and others to just kind of get that message out, because it's not an easy journey. It's not a quick fix thing. It's something that is rooted in your identity of who you are. You have to make that shift. And once you do that, then it becomes a lot easier, because now when it's associated to who you are as a person, you now can make those incremental steps and you don't get too frustrated because no, this is what I'm going to be. So you do the 5-page a day rule, and then, but simultaneously you get your brain scanned, or you get a personal trainer or a life coach or whatever the case might be for you. And that just gets you to a level of wellness for yourself that's just going to make your life and everybody else's life a lot better.
Well, I'm excited. So Jeff Meyer he has a company, The Mental Edge. He's a Olympian coach, and he is like totally on the brain health bandwagon with us. I'm actually going to have him on in a month. So definitely tune into that. And I would definitely, I'll introduce you to him. He's wonderful. And like his message is specifically world-class athletes understanding brain health and looking at that when you're doing your training, which is why I love that he focuses so much on the mental piece as well as the physical. So
that's great. That's great. I look forward to hearing that and potentially connecting.
Yeah, that'll be the first Friday in January that I'll be meeting with him, or the second, because January 1st I won't be doing this unless someone wants to. I figured everyone would want to be enjoying the first day of the new year, which I'm pretty excited about, and I think everybody else is.
Yes, I think so too. Yeah. Well, I mean, if anything, I will say that this year has been great in a lot of ways. I mean, there's a lot of challenges, and let's not, deny that, but a mindset matters, right? And so getting help in that space has really, I always remember this year for many reasons. But one of them, it might be like the critical change in my life to really being healthy, well, and also catapulting me being able to take my experiences and what I've learned and be able to share that and help others. So, that's a great thing I'm going to take. And January 1, I'm going to celebrate and say, oh, we got through it. And what does 2021 have in store for us?
Well, I am excited about it.
Yes, me too.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Larry. It was so good to see you, and we'll be in touch soon.
Thank you. It was an honor being on here. I really greatly appreciate you asking me, and I look forward
Of
to talking
course.
again soon. All right.
Sounds good.
All right. Be